Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Human Echoes recap for Season 7, Episode 2 of Game of Thrones. We're talking about an episode called Stormborn tonight. Al is somewhere out in the wilds on a trip, so joining me tonight is the awesome Kevin Veldman from the ComicNoobs.
I've been trying to replace Al for so many years, so I'm glad to be here, Tony.
Yeah, if you guys dig far back enough, you'll find a few episodes with Kevin, but this is his slow usurping, much like some of the episode stuff that's happening right now.
Yes. The slow burn on Game of Thrones. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and like this slow burn is starting to accelerate in so many ways this season. Like especially since it's only going to be 7 episodes, we can already feel like the epic level of what's going to be happening. Like there were some expensive things that happened tonight. But let's start out with how this episode opens. We start out with Sam in Old Town, and they're looking at Jorah, who's covered in stone skin.
Yeah. Oh man, I could really do without the whole Sam in Old Town. Like, if this was like a quarter of the length of time they dedicate to Sam in Old Town, I would be pumped about that.
Yeah, like I'm glad there's an arc for Sam, but sometimes it gets a little bit tedious. I do like that that Jorah's being brought in here. I didn't know if they would ever have Jorah back on this side of the Narrow Sea, so it's kind of cool seeing him there. But there needs to be a little more flavor. At least we had that montage last episode.
Yeah, the poop montage. Oh, is that what you were talking about? The poop montage?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And I actually started at the wrong scene because I started on the wrong page of my notes.
I was going to say, I thought we started out at Dragonstone where there was a big thunderstorm going on and Daenerys was pretty much interviewing Varys on whether or not he was going to keep his head.
Yeah, like it was a pretty intense interview because it's always been an interesting thing how much she knows about Varys, which always seems to be very little, but some of her own little birds have gotten the idea that basically he was in charge of the assassination. So it was a pretty intense moment. You've got this storm raging, and it's the same type of storm for her namesake, Daenerys Stormborn.
Mm-hmm.
And she's basically like, I will burn you alive if you don't do this. And you kind of get a cool insight into Varys, where we've seen him talk about how he's for the people before, but this felt a little bit more direct.
Yeah, and I liked it, and I'm glad that they put it out there. I'm glad that Daenerys called him out on, hey, you betrayed the last 3 kings you worked for, however many that is. Don't betray me. But I could dig it. I was a lot more interested in the interview with Melisandre that came up right afterwards.
And whenever you get Melisandre in there, it's the first time that her and Danny have seen each other. Not the first time she's encountered a Red Priest, but you always wonder who she's going to pick as the next Azor Ahai. Whether it's going to be Jon Snow, whether it's going to be Daenerys, or if it's going to be some combination of the two. They kind of hinted that it could be whatever because, there is no gender in the Valyrian word for prince.
Yeah, and I'm glad they explained that too, because that kind of brings the prophecy full circle. Also, I feel like Melisandre is actually learning from her mistakes because she's been very specific on that prophecy at least once already, and now she's like, wait a second, prophecies can be tricky things.
Yeah.
I feel like she's actually learning from her mistakes and being like, hey, maybe I shouldn't be 100% positive on this and get somebody else maybe killed because of it.
Well, her confidence has been so shot ever since Stannis. She's just been kind of, not necessarily broken, but you can tell that that hardcore fiery confidence she always had is just so shaken.
Yeah, I'm glad they did the that meeting outside too. It would have been really weird to have her and Daenerys having a meeting over that specific table.
Yeah, there's a little bit of history there.
There's a history with Melisandre and that table.
Yep,
and a shadow baby.
Yeah, there's some strange stuff that's happened in Dragonstone. Although I'm still wondering why the city was completely abandoned. I still haven't gotten a clear explanation for that.
Well, Stannis had the smallest of the armies at the beginning of the War of Five Kings, and once he attacked King's Landing, Dragonstone is very close to King's Landing. So once he attacked King's Landing and lost in the Battle of Blackwater Bay, he didn't have a whole lot left to do. So he was like, okay, I'm going to take my entire force with me to the north when he went to assist Jon against the Wildlings, because he didn't have enough people to leave behind to make a strong enough garrison to where he could have lost it, to where they would have been able to hold it against any type of attack. So why leave anybody there at all?
Yeah, not to mention it's probably hard to, get enough food there without supply chains and all that sort of stuff. But it doesn't look like an island for growing things.
Yeah, one thing Game of Thrones ignores in a big way whenever it's convenient is the supply chain. So, but yeah, I'm with you 100%. I like that that she mentioned Jon Snow and that she mentioned specifically ask him what he's seen north of the Wall.
Yeah, it's the first time she's ever really heard about the Dark Knight, or it's not the Dark
Long Night. Yeah,
the Long Night. Excuse me. This is not Batman.
No, unfortunately, Batman has not shown up yet.
I mean, I've seen some pretty cool medieval armor Batmans. He could pull it off. But yeah, like this is her first time kind of even learning about that threat. She's been so focused on King's Landing getting the Iron Throne back that she hasn't had time to even think about this or even be informed, really.
Right, and I do like that she specifically said, I don't want Westeros under my... I don't want to be the Queen of the Ashes. I want Westeros, but I want a full Westeros without destroying the whole, continent in the process.
Yeah, because she could just fly over and probably take out King's Landing right now just using dragons.
And then they kind of go on to, like, Jon gets the letter. He's like, no, I can't go. It could be a trap. But then they cut right back to Sand Snakes and the Tyrells and the Greyjoys and Tyrion and Daenerys all doing their like war council thing.
Yeah, and I don't know if you watched the after the Thrones thing that they put on, but it was interesting hearing the writer's perspective about how different it must be for this time period to have 4 women talking at a table about different strategies and battles and how they're going to actually take back the throne.
I didn't even think of that, but yeah, it was basically Tyrion and all women talking about that. It was Olenna and Ilaria and what's her name? I always want to call her Asha because that's
Yara.
Her name in the book. Yara, that's right.
Yeah.
And Yara and Daenerys. Yeah, this is pretty much a 4 women council of war.
Yeah, and Theon's in the background and Tyrion's just kind of like he's definitely there and he's important and Grey Worm's there. It's like between all of them, there's only technically one dick in the room.
Yeah, and Tyrion, he's the mouthpiece for Daenerys. Like that she's not being passive in that either. She's just letting him do the talking because she's the queen.
Yep. And while we're on the subject of like the powerful women, like Olenna kind of sits down to Daenerys and is like, I've survived because I haven't listened to these clever men. Like this is exactly like the sort of thing that they always get things brought up. You need to be you and you need to do this your way.
Yeah, but I that's true, but I really don't necessarily like I don't necessarily like sowing discord between Tyrion and Daenerys, and I don't really trust Olenna, to be honest. She's been kind of a schemer from the beginning.
Yeah, she's as bad as most of them. I've always enjoyed her as a character, but I'm not sure if she's in like a full-on clear state of mind right now.
No, I put her in the same boat. Well, maybe a little bit less creepy boat, but we'll get to that later. As Peter Baelish, she's a schemer. She's a player of the game, but she's not one that plays it with morals like Tyrion does, and like Daenerys wants to.
We actually did skip over a few things. We've got a little out of context right now. Like the next scene that happened was actually in King's Landing, where you've got the Tarly Bannermen meeting with Cersei.
Oh, right. I didn't actually start taking notes until until Missandei and Grey Worm, so I was kind of going by memory on that.
It's all good.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the Tarlys. I feel like Tarly had the right idea in not allying with Cersei, but then again, I'm a little bit biased against Cersei because she's the fucking worst.
Yeah, it's one of those where like he also didn't say yes and he didn't say no, but you kind of know where his actual allegiance is. But I think if you look closely in some of the trailers, you see like the Tarly archers firing against Dothraki, which honestly, with the layout of that battle, that looked like the worst idea ever. Why would you have your archers in an open field against Dothraki? You have to have them like high up on the walls. Maybe it was just me reading into it too much, but that looked like Tarly Bannerman.
Yeah, and see, I've been avoiding Game of Thrones trailers like the plague because I know I'm going to watch it and I want everything to come at me cold. So.
Yeah, the Comic-Con trailer spoiled what happened tonight for me.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. So.
Oh man.
Like I need to stop, but like I try to get as much information as possible for these podcasts. It's unfortunate that Alt-Shift-X takes so long to get out there because I'll watch that channel and it's just like so much everything granular broken down, like some of the best breakdowns online. But that comes out like 5 days after this does.
Mm-hmm. It's a tough balance to be sure, but yeah, I think the meeting, like, none of the other people in that meeting were really important. It was basically to show that the Tarleys, one of the most powerful bannermen for House Tyrell, are kind of conflicted at this point.
Yeah.
And we all know that that Lord Tarley is kind of a dick. So
yeah, he's one of the best generals out there, but he's also like he's very bound by honor in a lot of ways too. And you got to think like they straight up murdered members of House Tyrell. Like I would think that would put him on the side of the people trying to usurp the queen, especially because you look at the queen and she has no dynasty, she has no lineage ahead.
Right. And she's pretty much past her prime. Like I don't even know if she's still in baby making range, if you know what I mean. Yeah, that's questionable. And then everybody knows that she blew up the Sept and killed Marjorie. So yeah, I don't know about that.
And it's like the next thing that it kind of brings up is like how is she going to deal with dragons? So they end up in like that. It's not a crypt underneath. It's where they keep all the dragon skulls in King's Landing. And like you end up seeing one of the weapons that they're going to have, which is a pretty badass looking ballista.
I put in big ass crossbow on Twitter because I couldn't remember the name. There's another name for that weapon. It's like onager or something. Is that right? Is that the right word? Onager? I'm
not sure. I've always known it as a ballista, but I could be mistaken too. I might
it is a ballista, but I think there's similar weapons. Hold on, now I'm googling it. Well, no, this is a horse. Okay, onager, siege weapon. No, I was wrong. An onager is more like a catapult.
Ah, I see.
It's just like a flattened catapult, but it has like a high arc. No, you're right. It's a ballista. That's my bad. I had those two confused.
That's all good. Like we aren't always up to date on our medieval weaponry. It's not exactly something that
I had a roommate. I had a roommate in college who built medieval siege weapons, mini versions, on our back porch. So I really should have known that. We built some pretty awesome trebuchets in my day.
Yeah, we built a truck-mounted trebuchet in one of my shop classes.
That's what ours was. It was a truck-mounted trebuchet. It was awesome. We had it. We put it on the back of my friend's pickup, and it like fit perfectly into the things. And we were launching pumpkins out of it. It was great.
It's like, hold on while we go take the south of France for a little bit. I guess that's more longbows than trebuchets, but still.
Oh man. Let's if we start getting into actual medieval battles, I could talk all day. So let's move on to Missandei and Grey Worm.
All right, and you knew it was going to be one of these episodes whenever it flashed up everything at the beginning, where it's like strong sexual content and nudity and blah blah blah. And it's like, yeah, somebody's getting laid in this episode, or it's going to go very bad for some people in a very like sexual way.
And it went to the surprise one. Grey Worm got some.
Yeah, it's like
the whole beginning. Oh, go ahead.
I feel bad because it's like it's a little bit of a one-sided thing, but for someone like Grey Worm to actually get some intimacy and get some and everything, it's awesome. It's like a rare soft spot in this entire series between him and Missandei right now.
Exactly. Me and April were looking at each other like, how's this gonna work? Okay, all right, good for Grey Worm. You go. No, yeah, it really didn't add a whole lot to the story except a little bit to the Missandei and Grey Worm relationship. And those characters are already very sympathetic. So I think it's a good scene to add in there with all the high-level scheming going on to add Missandei and Grey Worm as to move forward those lower-level character arcs with all the high-level, plot movement stuff going on. I think adding to the lower-level character, the sympathetic character arcs, is a really good thing.
Plus, who's really against Grey Worm? Like nobody's like I haven't met anyone that was like, I don't like that character. Like I've met people who are like, oh, Jon Snow's too whiny and things like that. I've heard all sorts of criticisms of every character except for people like Grey Worm.
Exactly. Yeah, no, how can you not love Grey Worm? He's great.
His English has gotten better.
Yeah.
Next scene after that, we actually have one of the grosser scenes that I've seen in a while, and that's the peeling of the scale.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
You just have Sam going in, getting Jorah drunk, and basically they have to cut off all the grayscale, which seems like a no-brainer as far as like, well, this is how you stop it. Now they've just got to like slather him in all sorts of nasty stuff. That looked like it was going to take forever too.
Right? Seems like something you'd bring in a Bolton for. They seem good at that.
Like, I don't know if the Boltons could stop at the layer of skin they need, but I'm sure that they would have very effectively removed the stone skin.
Yeah, I'm actually, that scene actually got me interested to see if he makes it through. Did you notice he was also writing a letter to Daenerys, like addressed to Khaleesi?
Yeah, I did notice that. I was wondering if anybody got any stills and actually like put it out there for what he was saying. I'm guessing it was like, "I'm sorry, I'm not going to make it" type thing. But
Lord Friendzone in full effect.
Yes, full on Lord Friendzone.
But yeah, that was an intense scene, and I props to Sam for biting the bullet and going for it.
Yeah, Sam is actually oddly
come a long way.
Yeah,
yeah.
He's like a lovable coward for a while, and then all of a sudden, like whatever it comes down to at most, he's not afraid to take some risks. Plus, he stole his dad's sword, which would be very, very useful in the coming like long night.
Yeah, that was a Valyrian steel, right?
Yep, and that one's big enough that you could probably split it into two. I watched a thing on presenting like the 20 known Valyrian steel weapons, and that's one of the major ones that's left.
Yep, yeah, it's a shame Ice got melted. Ice was a badass sword.
Yeah, now it's Oathkeeper, and like what do you call it? Widowmaker or Widow's Bane?
Widow's Bane.
Yeah. The only thing that's ever cut was the pie before he died.
Yep.
Because he was afraid to go to the Battle of the Blackwater. His dad would have been, or his pseudo dad would have been so disappointed.
So disappointed. Speaking of pies, though, Arya and Hot Pie hanging out again. It's a reunion.
Yep, and like that's a good little spot for them to bring back an old character. Like Hot Pie was always just kind of a silly, like softer side of this, just like some of the other stuff we were talking about. And like it's good for him to see Arya, and it's good that like he was able to give some information to her, because this is a big moment for Arya too, because she's heading to King's Landing. She doesn't fully have a plan on how she's going to get to Cersei. It might be a suicide mission, it might not be, but she wanted to get out there and do something. And then all of a sudden she hears that her family is back in charge of Winterfell, and she chooses her family over revenge, which she hadn't really done yet.
That's a big arc, and I think the fact that it was Jon had a lot to do with it. Jon was her favorite brother, so I think that might have had a lot to do with it. But yeah, Arya choosing family over revenge that's a moment for her, and she has another moment later. But I think that really added a lot to the character, especially the way she kind of freaked out when she heard that. She's like, yay, Jon's still alive.
Yeah, it was kind of a restoring of humanity a little bit to her, because she's been so cold for so long. Like you had her just brutally decimating the Freys and everything else, and like even with the way she was talking to Hot Pie, like there was just something very cold about it, like very clinical. She was talking about making pies and everything, but it was almost like, I wouldn't say it was inhuman, but it was not. There wasn't that much warmth there.
Yeah, no, it was the way a psychopath might talk in West.
Yeah, I think Westeros has a way of breeding those types.
Yeah, and so she turns around and heads to Winterfell. I gotta say, I'm disappointed we didn't get to see her kill Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, that's we talked about that last week, because there were a lot of threads about like, oh, I can't believe it, they broke this entire season like believability because he's got a new album and all this other stuff. And it's like, what? No, Ed Sheeran has been a Game of Thrones fan since the beginning, and he's been a huge fan of Arya. And Arya, like Maisie Williams is a huge fan
of Ed Sheeran. Yeah, like there's nothing. It didn't break any believability, and like even like the way he looks, it wasn't out of place in Westeros.
He was still dirty. He was a little ginger guy. Like the only thing that was maybe out of place is how good his voice was. But like, there's got to be people who are good at singing. Like even in the books, there are soldiers who are good at singing around. Bronn was good. Bronn had like a legendary singing voice in the books. So I could see that.
Man, I miss Bronn. What happened to that guy?
He was in one of the I thought he was in the first episode very briefly, but I'm not 100% certain. I'm sure he'll show up again soon. It's just I need characters.
More Bronn in my life. Right.
Let's finish talking about Arya, because like she's got a scene right after this one, and then we'll get back to the Jon Snow one. But as she's heading north, she's setting a campfire, and she finds a very old friend of hers, something that we hadn't seen. Yeah. Like, there'd always been rumors that Nymeria was kind of building like a super PAC and not the political kind. And so, like, we get to see Nymeria for a brief moment just come up and, like, almost look like they're going to go after Arya, and then they just kind of wander away. And it's not exactly what I was hoping would happen, but it kind of makes sense in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that scene, because I really would think Nymeria, like, why bring Nymeria in if Nymeria is not going to go for Arya? But maybe she'll be trailing Arya. Maybe she'll be watching Arya's ass for the next couple of episodes while she travels north. Or maybe she'll show up and Nymeria will play like a part. Because in the books, Arya hasn't made it back to Westeros yet, but Arya is warging in her dreams and kind of living through Nymeria.
Yeah, and living through like cats and all sorts of other things. Right,
the same way that Bran can. Arya is like having dreams where she is Nymeria and she's controlling Nymeria, or they're kind of merging while Arya dreams. So bringing Nymeria back at this point is really cool, and it's great to see Nymeria. I believe she's the last dog, right? Or is Ghost still alive?
I'm pretty sure Ghost is still alive, but they haven't put him in any episodes because that costs money.
Right. But okay, so Ghost is still alive, but Nymeria is the last, the second to last one. And man, like, it's good to see one of those wolves surviving. I really wish they would have like had her go with her or something, but we'll see.
Yeah, like, this doesn't mean it's the end of Nymeria by any means. I could totally see her getting in over her head in a fight and just a wolf pack coming and saving her. I mean, it is the Stark, like, banner and everything. So exactly. I feel like there's more to be seen with Nymeria. In the post-credits thing, they talked about how she wanted Nymeria to come back and be that loyal friend that she used to be, but that's not her. And that's exactly what she says. Like, that's not you. And that's very similar to what she said to her dad about whenever Ned wanted to set her up, basically to be some frilly princess somewhere. And she tells him that's not me, and it's kind of an interesting parallel where they've become their own person, and Nymeria has become like the head of this different pack.
Right, Nymeria is not a pet anymore, and so that would have been, I think, you're right. That I didn't realize that was calling back, but now that you say that, definitely.
And like that's just from the creator's insight, and it might be something to distract us from the fact that Nymeria is going to come back later. But even still, it's still cool to see that one of the direwolves is still out there surviving.
Yeah.
So we're going to jump back one scene, and we're going to talk about Jon Snow getting ready to head south, which is the bane of all Starks.
Well, real quick, to the catalyst for this moment is the letter from Sam, the Raven from Samwell Tarly, that explains that there is a shitload of dragon glass on Dragonstone.
Yep.
And they need that dragon glass to fight the others.
Yeah, they need like every arrowhead possible. They need to make daggers. They need to make swords. They need everything.
Exactly. And so that prompts him. He's like, all right, well, now that I know that that's all on Dragonstone, I need to go meet with Daenerys. I need that dragon glass, and I need to convince her to start mining it like immediately.
Yeah, and so I'm not sure where they're going to get the resources for that, but I'm sure they have their ways.
They've got 20,000 or 40,000 Dothraki. Like, yeah, and I'm sure them to work in the mines.
I'm sure the Unsullied would help out too if they were asked.
Hell yeah! I mean, the Unsullied will do anything, and plus they've got others too. They've got freed slaves that they brought from Essos as well.
Yeah. And that's something that we actually kind of glossed over, is the fact that we're probably going to be seeing our first view of Casterly Rock like actually on screen. We've heard about it for 7 seasons, but we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah,
because
Tyrion is bringing the Unsullied to Casterly Rock.
Yeah, and the Iron Fleet was supposed to be heading to King's Landing, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But right. the Unsullied and the Dothraki are probably going to be the ones that take out Casterly Rock, which. If I'm wondering how much that affects the Lannisters, other than moral support, I'm betting it cuts off a lot of their money, a lot of their trade supplies, and like just cuts off a lot of their soldiers, their weapon making, all sorts of things. It's got to be
to bring in a bunch of the book knowledge. Casterly Rock sits on massive gold mines, and that's why the Lannisters are so rich. And so that right there, the loss of that right there would be huge for the Lannisters and the Lannister armies. In addition to that, you've got the gold mines there, but also, yeah, that's the seat of the Lannister armies. That's where the Lannisters' blacksmiths are. That's where the Lannisters' armorers are. That's it. That would be a huge loss. King's Landing, while it does have some industrial capacity, it's really more of a symbolic city than like. Yeah, it'd be like King's Landing would be like Washington D.C. If somebody were to take out Washington D.C., yeah, a lot of our leaders, our politicians would be gone, but really our military capability wouldn't be affected that much.
Yeah.
And that's what taking out Casterly Rock. That's like taking out the main army base or something.
Not to mention the blow it would give to Cersei. I can't even imagine how furious she'd be if they lose Casterly Rock.
Oh, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. I feel like the rebuilding Cersei is a little more competent than just like the all of a sudden queen that she was. Like it feels like they've got her planning for the dragons and everything. She's always competent at killing, but I never thought she'd be all that competent at leading. And she's trying to make the right decisions right now. We talked about how like she sort of conned Euron into going and killing a fleet without having to actually accept his marriage proposal. Like she's starting to actually play the game again at a high level. She's still not mourning her son. She's still not doing all that. But I feel like that she's back to being as formidable as ever now.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you there. I don't think she's being competent or wise. She has always had minimal competence. So, and I think that's what she's displaying. She knows that there are dragons, so she commissions a giant ballista to fight the dragons. But yeah, I really what she needs to be doing and like going after the Tyrell Bannerman, that's another good thing. But really what she should have been planning ahead from the start. Sending the bend the knee letter to Jon Snow. She's still alienating people. She's still playing the hey, play our game or die.
Yeah, when she doesn't have the power to do that because she's in charge of 3 of the 7 kingdoms, maybe.
Yeah, and I don't even know what kind of support she has in the Stormlands. So really, she's got the Lannisters and the Riverlands, and the Riverlands are in disarray because all the Freys are dead.
Yeah,
so right now
Freys are dead, and the Tullys are mostly dead, and like.
The Tullys are all dead. The Freys are all dead. Yeah, there's nobody in charge in the Riverlands. She doesn't have the Vale. She doesn't have the North. She doesn't have the Reach. She doesn't have Dorne.
Yeah,
really,
Littlefinger's definitely not going on her side anymore.
No, so basically we've got possibly the Stormlands and definitely the Lannisters. At most, she's got 2 of the 7 kingdoms.
That's true. So, she might also just be entering desperation mode at this point and doing the whole like, oh, let's just fill the rest of the city up with wildfire. So we'll see how it turns out.
This is what I think. She's still going nuts, is what I think. She's planning as best she knows how, but what she's doing is really minimal.
Yeah. She's becoming the Mad Queen.
Yeah. And actually, that goes by. Do we do predictions on this show?
We definitely do predictions on here. Like, take all predictions with a grain of salt. Like, if you're putting money on it, like, just don't follow our predictions on that.
So my prediction is that Jaime reprises his action as the Kingslayer and has to stab Cersei in the back before she does something freaking nuts like Aerys did.
Well, that's part of the prophecy from Maggie the Frog.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, like basically like gold their shrouds and all that for her kids, like she knew they were going to die, and that she would fall by her Valanquor, which in Valyrian means little brother. And I'm sure she believes that's going to be Tyrion, but it's like she was the firstborn of the twins, so she technically is, or Jaime is technically her little brother.
Oh man, okay, yeah, that's true.
So, like, okay. How many times is he going to go Kingslayer in his life? I would, like, if he ends up doing that, I almost wonder if it would be, like, murder-suicide. Like, I just don't know how much more Jaime has in the tank after that.
Okay, all right, yeah. Okay, so Sophie's prediction is that Arya does the killing, but wearing Jaime's face, which means she's already killed Jaime.
That would be pretty accurate.
But now that we've seen Arya redirected to the north, I don't know if that prediction still is his prediction. But we'll see. We'll see how that works out. Yeah, I think really doing the bare minimum still at this point.
We'll see how it turns out. Like, she's got some more adversity coming in these next couple episodes. Let's see, what else do we have?
We never really covered the Jon in the Great Hall, talking about how he seemed to go down, and then Jon and Baelish in the crypt of the Starks.
Well, more importantly, before Jon and Littlefinger in the crypt, is he hands the reins of the North to Sansa. Which everybody's like, oh, Sansa's totally going to betray him and all this. I'm like, I don't think so. I think they're on rocky terms, but I don't think that she's going to go with Peter on this side and just completely betray, like, Jon. And to me, this is the right move for that, because it shows that he fully trusts her, that, like, he is entrusting her as basically, if not Queen of the North, then Warden of the North. Like, it's reinforcing what she has, and it's taking power away from Peter, despite him surely trying to figure out how to, like, get around it.
Exactly. And I think the way he did that, he said, I'm leaving the North in very capable hands, and he said, yours. So I think the way he did that really cemented at least what loyalty Sansa does have to offer with him and away from Baelish.
And not to mention, she is like a rightful heir of the Stark throne. Like,
right.
As of right now, although they don't know that Brandon's still alive, which, as fast as these ravens are traveling everywhere, I'm kind of surprised that hasn't gotten from the Wall to Winterfell.
Yeah, they do some fun things with time dilation. And
yeah, especially because in the preview for the next episode, we see what is possibly Jon and Daenerys' first meeting.
Right.
Like, that's a pretty quick walk from Winterfell to Dragonstone, apparently.
Yeah, well, and it's just like how, it's like how it took 3 episodes for Ned and family to get from the north to King's Landing in season 1, and then in season 5, it took Peter Baelish 1 cutscene to get with Sansa from the Vale to the north.
Yeah,
like they really do some interesting things, and you got to do that. You got to take that with salt.
I imagine when George R.R. Martin gets back to it and everything, he's gonna say that this takes place over several months and things are moving, and it's gonna be one of those where it makes more sense and he's got timelines and all that. But with a TV show, you don't have the patience for that.
Oh yeah. Speaking of patience, I've been waiting 6 years, George.
But
yeah, I'm really worried that I'm never gonna get to read that 7th book. But whatever.
And on to the next one, the big juicy fight of the episode. Like, we've been kind of waiting for a big scene like this to happen in this season, because they've been setting the table, and now we have our first taste of, like, okay, shit's really going down.
You're talking about Yara and Ilaria about to hook up.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's a foreign invasion. We got the fireworks and everything. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I was very much a fan of that sequence. I love the look that Yara gives. Like, it's like, come on, I'm not going to turn this down.
That was so great. She's like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Get out of here, Theon.
Yeah.
No, that was great. But then it's Iron Fleet versus Iron Fleet, and as Euron attacks, and oh man, is there ever a battle? Yeah,
like there have been some really cool sea battles and everything. Like, I think the Battle of Blackwatch was a little bit more comprehensible, like, as far as, like, this is a series of events that's happening. But I feel like that's a big part of this, is, like, they come in the night and they're just savage brutality, get on the ship, murder everyone. And then you get to see, like, the ever unpopular Sand Snakes fight against Euron. And, like, it was just the way Euron even made his entrance, that crazy ass with his giant axe flying onto the boat, like, very first one on. Like,
yeah, he was on the boarding ramp as it fell.
Yeah, and crushed somebody.
Yeah, that was really cool. What you were saying about the confusion, I wrote in my notes here, holy jump cuts, Batman.
Yeah.
Because, man, there were a lot of jump cuts.
Yeah, there were.
But yeah, it was a bit confusing. It was a bit hard to follow, but overall, it really did, like you said, display, like, the boats were on fire. They came in the night. It was chaos and boarding action and all that fun stuff, and it was a really intense fight.
Yeah, and it's the first time we got to see Euron fully in action, because we saw him kill his brother, but I don't think we've really seen him, like, wade into battle and show his prowess there. And it's like he's fighting an entire ship of people, but he's also fighting 2 Sand Snakes at the same time and actually winning. Go
I
on.
mean, he won, but he also got he got a leg cut, he got his shoulder cut, and he got stabbed in the balls. If I'm not mistaken, he got a knife straight vertically between his legs.
That was somebody else that got that. That was
that was somebody else.
Yeah.
I was gonna say if he's keeping fighting after that, power to him, because that takes.
He's definitely not unscathed from this fight. But I feel like he didn't really receive any vital wounds, just based on the fact of how he's walking in the next episode and everything, where he's just kind of in King's Landing, all proud and everything. Mm-hmm. So I think he was probably fine from that. If anything, he probably enjoys the scars anyway. I know that he's kind of an amalgam of a few different Ironborn characters from the books. So what's your take on that? Have you liked this version of Euron, or do you feel like it's not quite as good or as interesting as what he was in the books?
Oh, no, absolutely. I love this character so much. This character is amazing. I love everything about him. I love the way he wrested power from Yara. I love the way he went to Cersei and pretty much just stood there insulting Jaime the whole time. And I love the chaotic berserker on this boat battle.
Yeah,
he's definitely the one guy. Him and Jaime are the two that I'm rooting for Team Cersei.
Yeah.
And I'm only rooting for him because he's so absurd.
Yeah, he's definitely absurd, and you see a little bit of that with his cackle and everything whenever this fight is going down. But just by his glare, he was able to turn Theon back into Reek, and I was actually excited because Theon was fighting. He was fighting for his life. He was fighting hard. Yeah, and it seemed like he was kind of becoming his old self. He's never been the bravest character even before all that, but he was at least a competent and good fighter. But all it took was just a little bit of pressure to get him to snap and betray his sister.
Yeah, that was great. I think I'm gonna try and find a GIF of or a GIF of Theon jumping into the ocean, and just anytime somebody tries to get me into a political Twitter debate, I'm just gonna post that GIF and run away.
Yeah, just put a little caption, just nope.
No, that was Theon. Theon bitched out hardcore. And now Ilaria and one of the Sand Snakes, I'm not sure which, have been captured.
It's Ilaria's full-on daughter. They were all making fun of her for being for calling Ilaria mom whenever they're bastard daughters of Oberyn from different mothers, from what I could tell.
Well, Ilaria Sand, anybody who's a daughter of Ilaria Sand is a bastard daughter.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, different.
Viper was never married, so that they all had the same father. It's definitely the same lineage. I think she was just another one of the Sand Snakes.
Yeah.
Unless I missed something there, but she
seemed to be a little bit closer to Ilaria, which whatever. It's not that important, but you actually got to see them do some damage without all their weird little mannerisms. They had some of their weird stuff in this episode, but it was less annoying because you actually got to see them go full on at it with people.
Yeah, and the Sand Snakes have bugged me ever since the beginning because there should be 7 Sand Snakes, not 3, and the whole Dorne thing has been mangled. So I'm just gonna let that play out. It's just something different than it is in the books, and I'm not.
They got rid of a couple of them today, so.
Yeah, well, they're down to 1. So, and
the 2 episodes where they were featured are the least popular episodes, both by viewership and by IMDb ratings. So I feel like this was almost fan service to get rid of them.
Good point. But yeah, the battle overall, it was exciting. It was good to watch, and it's really edges up the because it seemed like Daenerys had a lock up until this point, but Euron really was able to make a victory that counted right here. And the Iron Fleet has really given Cersei's forces an edge.
Yeah, and it's you've seen other fleets before that have just gotten worked over and everything, and they never felt all that competent. Whereas the Iron Fleet is entirely something else. Even though this fleet took on another Iron Fleet, Euron's is just so much better.
Yeah, I as somebody who studies navies and naval battles throughout history as a hobby, I'm just gonna ignore the realism. But yeah, it's a badass fleet.
Yeah, and I'm sure that there's a lot of inconsistencies there. Also, how did he build the ship so quickly and all that sort of stuff? There's once again, time dilation is happening. It's getting a little bit further removed from realism, but we're just gonna have fun because there's only so much money HBO can spend.
Right, and there's so many. actual naval things that wouldn't work about the Iron Fleet, I'm just going to completely ignore all of them.
What's the biggest one you see?
The biggest one is that the one Iron Fleet was able to sneak up on the other so well.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too. It's like even if you took out all the torches and just like were sneaking in the night, like you'd have to have some perfect timing not to get spotted on the horizon the day before. And
to communicate between those ships, like how do you communicate any course change between those ships? Secondly, they're all square riggers. I'm not even going to go into that part. Thirdly, if they are setting their enemy ships on fire, they are definitely not dropping boarding ramps and locking the ships together.
Yeah, that's like whenever you scuttle a ship, it's like
literally suicide.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got the other thing is it's a weird combination between medieval ships and like more like ancient ships like the ancient Greeks or the ancient Chinese may have
like
used
the ramming ones and everything.
Yeah, where it's all boarding actions, where you've got medieval weapons, medieval capabilities, but it's all boarding weapons. There's no cannon. So it's a very strange naval engagement. So we'll just ignore all those logical inconsistencies. Say it was a really cool battle.
Yeah, and it was just fun. And like I was looking at it, I was like, there's about 12 minutes left in the episode. It feels like something's going to happen. And then that kicked off. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's this is how episode 2 finishes. We got 5 more coming up.
Exactly. So man. And I'm pumped for 5 more. I'll tell you what, I'm not pumped for waiting, but the 7-episode season really gives you that urgency right away.
Yeah, and I know that some of these are going to be longer episodes. Like we're going to get 90 minutes for the finale. We're going to get 70 minutes for the episode before that. But like it's with the way that they've done like the Battle of the Bastards, Hard Home, like episode 10 last season, like whenever they decide to make a finale, it's literally some of the best TV and best film ever created. So I'm excited to see what they come up with for this season as everybody's just further in their roles. They know more about what they're doing. They have the entire thing. And it's like, we're actually at the point of like this of ice and fire. So it's taken 7 seasons to get to the point where like the namesake is even happening. And we get to see that next episode. We get to see like Jon Snow with Daenerys. So.
Hell yeah, man. I'm so pumped to see Jon Snow and Daenerys meet. Been waiting for that since episode 1. Yeah, I'm pumped for that.
And I wonder if he's ever going to know that that's his aunt.
Yeah, we'll find out, because I don't know if there's anybody at this point that can confirm the R plus L equals J type of theory.
Yeah, other than the Raven. Like, other than Brandon Stark.
Right. Yeah, other than Bran, and what good is that going to do?
Yeah, they're going to be like, oh, you're just really high and delusional.
Shut up, you kid with visions. You don't make any sense.
Yeah, I know you can't walk, but seriously, just shut up. So, anyway, we'll see how that all turns out. Do you have any predictions coming up, or do you think you're about as far as that's going to take you tonight?
Oh, my prediction is that Jon Snow and Daenerys are totally going to do it. Like, immediately.
There's a pretty good chance of that. Like, I don't know. Daenerys is sometimes into Yara, but like we know that she was into Daario, or into Daario. Daario was in her. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. But like, we'll see how it all turns out. Like, I feel like there's definitely going to be some chemistry there. But like, the only thing we saw is just him walking into the throne room on Dragonstone. So.
Yep. So he does go. So that's good to know.
Yeah. And we'll see what Sir Davos thinks of her, too, because he's one of the only people that gives an honest opinion towards everything.
Yeah, I love Davos.
Yeah. Praise to the Onion Knight.
Praise to the Onion Knight.
Anyway, tell them where they can find you, since you are not a part of the standard Human Echoes thing.
Oh, you can find our show. It's the Comic Noobs Show. You can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, anywhere podcasts are found. That's Comic Noobs. That's noobs that is spelled like boobs, not like nudes. You can follow us on Twitter, Comic Noobs Show, at Comic Noobs Show. We're always engaging with fans, always engaging with new people. We love talking to people online, so definitely follow us there. And just check us out on SoundCloud or iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts from. We talk about comic books, mostly making fun, but also talking about the a little bit of literary analysis of them. So it's a ton of fun. Give us a follow, subscribe to our show. You'll love it. Trust me.
You guys also run another Game of Thrones show while this is going on too, like Game of Rants, I believe.
Yes. We have bonus content every week. We definitely have one for Game of Thrones. Usually on Mondays or Tuesdays it's released. It's called the Game of Rants, where we talk about the episode, pretty much scene by scene analysis. We have a lot more predictions and books talk, along with a lot more mockery of Peter Baelish.
This would have been a good episode for that, but we didn't quite get there. But
yeah, no, he's so creepy.
Anyway, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you, Kevin, for being on here. For Albert, this has been Human Echoes Recap. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit subscribe, check us out on YouTube, check out humanechoes.com, at Human Echoes on Twitter, all that good stuff. We got tons of different content related to games, special effects, and Game of Thrones, TV shows, movies. Pretty much everything's on there, so go to humanechoes.com for more info.
Oh, yeah.